This is the I Read Comic Books podcast, the very best podcast for regular comic book fans. I'm your host, Mike Rapin. Joining me this week, two mysterious cryptids off in the distance. This week, I'm joined by Nick White.
Hey.
And our very special guest for this episode, Julio Anta.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thank you both for joining me. I'm very excited to talk about comic books this week, if only because I've read so many good comic books and we only have so much time, but I'm here to talk about it. So let's just dive right in. Julio, for folks at home who maybe don't know who you are and what you do, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been working on recently?
Yeah, for sure. So I am the writer of a bunch of comics and graphic novels. I originally started in the direct market, so it's single issue comics. I published a series called Home at Image Comics. And then I sort of did a lot of graphic novel work, a lot of like young adult and middle grade graphic novels. But now I'm coming back July 1st with a new miniseries at Tiny Onion and Dark Horse. It's called Beast of Borikén, and it is a tropical horror comic book series about the chupacabra. But it's also a political thriller about the sort of neo-colonization of Puerto Rico that's going on by mostly U.S. investors that are essentially stealing protected land from the people of Puerto Rico to build hotels. And at the groundbreaking of one of these hotels, they just happen to awaken a centuries-old chupacabra that now, is seeking revenge on the people who woke him up. So yeah, it's a fun sort of gory creature feature book, but also, it has a serious political message about something that is ongoing on the island. And it's a book that I'm really excited about. So yeah, July 1st in stores from Tiny Onion and Dark Horse.
Yeah, we're really excited about this. You were kind enough to offer us a little preview, or I guess we read the first issue, I guess, for the most part. Outside of that special backstory, which I really am excited to see, so I have to buy my own copy, I guess, to get that. But I'm really excited to talk about that. But before we dig into it, I have two legally mandated questions that I have to ask for the show. And we're going to start with you, Julio, and that is, how have you been? How have comic books been? What have you been reading?
Yeah, I've been good. I've been reading, I'll show you guys. I've been reading these great new editions of Paper Girls. Now, Paper Girls, I originally read as the deluxe hardcover editions, and I loved it. I mean, I'll read anything that Brian K. Vaughan writes, and I love Cliff Chiang's art. His Catwoman book was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I stumbled across it. It's $13. It has 10 issues. It's on newsprint, and
Whoa.
I was just at a local comic shop in Portland because I was there to do a show. I was at Fan Expo Portland, and I went to Floating World Comics, which is a really cool comic shop over there.
Absolutely.
And I just ran into this, and I was like, oh, I can read Paper Girls again for $13 in this cool edition. And then Volume 2 just came out. But yeah, it's been great because in about a week, another new series I'm doing is about to be announced, and it's very Paper Girls influenced. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun to revisit this series.
I mean, do you want to make it exclusive here on this little tiny podcast, or no? That's okay. That's okay. That's really exciting. So I didn't even know that Image was republishing that series. That's so crazy. I mean, I think they're trying to catch up on the DC compact editions and stuff like that.
Into the budget.
But I love it for Paper Girls because I think of all of the books that Image has published recently outside of Saga, right? Or at least in the last decade and a half, right? Paper Girls is that book that I feel like so many people from across the range of interests are like, well, that seemed kind of cool. I really wanted to get into it. So the fact that they're putting it out in this new digest edition is very, very exciting.
Yeah. And they got the price right too, because they just did an Invincible sort of compact comics thing also. But it's only a trade's worth, so it's 5 issues, and it's not very, it's interesting to see people experiment with it. I feel like Marvel keeps messing it up too, but reprint books for cheap and people will buy them.
Absolutely.
I think we all remember maybe 10 to 15 years ago when the Image Volume 1 was $9.99 and it stayed at $9.99 and it was a great deal, and now that's also sort of disappeared. But it's interesting to see them following Marvel and DC into the budget or compact Is it a smaller size? I didn't get a really good look at
it's 6x9, so it's
okay, so they are doing compact.
I'd say like YA graphic novel size, so a little larger than manga.
Gotcha.
Newsprint's actually more appealing to me than the normal Marvel glossy page, so I'll take it.
Yeah, and it prints really nicely too. I like it, and it makes the book thicker too. So these are like notes I'm taking for the future. I'm like, oh, okay, like it's cool. Yeah.
Is this like, I feel like this is like carcinization, right? Where like everything evolves into a crab, but I feel like everything evolves into a manga tankobon eventually. That's what it feels like, the direction we're going in. Where like the manga tankobon is like a very small pocketable book, and I feel like American markets are slowly realizing that if we go that way, like more people can just like kind of grab these things on a whim. But we'll see. I'm gonna keep this in the back of my head and see where we are in 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, Nick, let's move on to you. How have you been? How have comic books been? What have you been reading?
Things have been great in Michigan. The weather's actually sort of settled into the 80s now, and it's June, so I think we've reached that point where we can safely say it won't snow. So I'll take it. Like we're there. We made it, guys. Yeah, it's been interesting. Been watching a lot of losing baseball recently, but maybe things have changed, maybe they haven't. I'm not going to jinx anyone here, okay? Like I'm not going to put a statement on the record. I know Paul is listening, so if anything goes bad, he's going to hold me accountable. So I'll
say the team. It's the Tigers we're talking about here, just so you know.
Tigers.
That's who we're focusing on here.
Yeah, my son's a big Yankees fan, and I'm secretly like pretty happy when their seasons don't go that well, because I'm able to get like $6 tickets to the games. I want them to win when we go, but yeah, I want them to win when we go to a game. But otherwise, keep the ticket prices down. Works forever.
You know what's affordable these days are New York Knicks tickets. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if any of you guys have seen what's being charged for these New York Knicks playoff tickets, but it's bonkers.
We'll save
World
that for
Cup price tickets.
But yeah.
Oh yeah. Listen, it's the month of June. I basically decided I'm driving nowhere in New Jersey, because I live in the middle of New Jersey, but like not close enough to where any of the soccer games are happening. And I'm like anywhere north of a certain like Elizabeth, I'm basically just not traveling. So for all you New Jersey listeners out there, you know what I'm talking about. It's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be a mess in June. But Nick, what have you been reading outside of watching baseball? What have you been reading?
Right. Well, that doesn't leave much time, but yeah, honestly, recently I read the latest edition of the Rocketeer, which is called The Island. The story is actually by Dave Stevens, written and lettered. I always forget that John Layman letters his books. Like, he's done it from the beginning. Like, I feel like at the beginning it was like a way to save money, but I guess he must still love it, or who knows. But John Layman lettering the book as well as writing it. We've got Jacob Edgar on art. He was one of the artists on Plastic Man No More, with colors by KJ Diaz. This is actually based on a never published outline by Dave Stevens, who did The Rocketeer and then sadly passed away in 2008. Like, I've always really there's a lot to like about The Rocketeer. Obviously, I think for the most part, it's like you have a guy with a cool helmet. He's got a nice jetpack. He's going to probably end up fighting the Nazis, who have some other crazy secret super weapons that we're going to go up against. But beyond that, it's not the most complicated book. It never really has been, but they have like tried at moments to have it interact with American history, which has always been sort of interesting. There was a series a year or two ago that had to do with an Alcatraz jailbreak. There was another a few years before that had to do with a lot of the airplane racing, sort of like across the states, that used to be a big fad in like the 30s or such, but obviously isn't really a thing anymore. Cool. But this one has to do with the disappearance of Amelia Earhart, who disappeared, as most people know, while trying to circumnavigate the globe back in 1937. And so I do like it because the book starts to veer into which I think is perfectly fitting for today and Julio's appearance and his book, but all of the, conspiracy theories and sort of, what really happened, or is this real, or how does this work? And the book sort of navigates some of the different theories about Earhart, including a pretty popular one for a while that she was actually captured by the Japanese. But the book sort of folds in this idea that like Earhart is actually one of Cliff Secord, that's the Rocketeer, Cliff Secord, one of his heroes growing up. And then he actually met her a couple years before she disappeared. And now this buddy from his earlier flying days is like, look, we know she went missing. The U.S. government, due to tensions, right, because this is like 37, 38, things are obviously starting to build up towards World War II. We can't officially go and start searching for her in that area. It's going to cause some tensions and issues. So we're going to do this sort of under the radar, undercover mission. We think you're the perfect guy for this. Do you want to go along? And he's like, well, I don't know. But then, of course, as always happens, his girlfriend, Betty, ends up getting a job to do a photo shoot on some of the tropical islands out there. And of course, Cliff Secord is like, oh no, my girlfriend, like she's going to go on this thing. She's going to fall for the photographer. Of course, he's like really sleazy. And he's like, oh, we're going to do some pictures now. Like, how about we do pictures without the bathing suit on? And it's like, oh my God.
Oh,
right?
geez.
Right. And it's like, it's funny that for me, after like the helmet and the jetpack, the like number 3 what makes a Rocketeer book is Cliff Secord basically getting cuckolded. Like that is that's like number 3 for me, is like his girlfriend goes off and he's like, oh man, things are bad between me and Betty, and there's this new guy and I have to sit around and watch while he takes pictures of her. And like, this is a Rocketeer staple. Like, this used to be a joke for me, but it's in every damn Rocketeer book now. Right. I don't have any of the rest of you read any of these books, because this is like, it's a part of it. It really well and truly is.
We just recorded the IRCB movie club that's about where we watched the Rocketeer, and Nick, you're hitting beat for beat what happens in the movie from the 90s, And
I haven't seen the movie in so long. Is that a big part of that too?
It is. I mean, at one point, like Betty definitely goes off with an actor, and he, he goes crazy, like because of it. It's bonkers. So, I think that's just what it is. It's like every Rocketeer story has these stapled beats. You have to hit them. And I mean, Layman is a fantastic writer. So like, of course he's going to do it, That's amazing.
Yeah. John Layman would be the kind of guy who would see like the humor and the stupidity in it and definitely be like, This is something I'm putting in my book too. Yeah,
exactly.
The really weird thing about this book, and I would love to know if this is John Layman's idea or if this was Dave Stevens' idea, is that the book folds in, no joke, it has Tintin in it, it has Popeye in it, it has King Kong in it, because somebody, again, was it Stevens, was it Layman? I assume it was Layman, because Stevens died in 2008, unless Stevens was like weirdly keeping an eye on like when things became public domain. These public domain licenses just ended. Like, they just ended.
Oh, no way.
So he's like, I'm putting Tintin in this book. I'm putting Popeye in this book.
That's funny.
Sure.
It's so bizarre. Although, like, I was reading this interview and someone was saying how it's like, it's Tintin, but it has to be Tintin from like the first 2 years of Tintin. And it's King Kong, but it has to be King Kong from the novel. It can't be King Kong, right? So it's like all of these weird...
Yeah, it's like Mickey Mouse. It has to be from the first original short.
Yeah, the Steamboat
it's gotta
Willie,
be Steamboat
right?
Willie. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what's John Layman up to, right? Like, the poor guy disappears for a couple years after that awful Outer Darkness thing, right, with all the legal stuff at Skybound, and he comes back, and like, hasn't IDW been through so much in the last year or two that like now he's got their lawyers working overtime on this on this book?
We're gonna push copyright to its closest limits. Yeah, I got you.
Anyway, look, it's got Skull Island in it. It's got like the huge dinosaurs in it. Like, it's again, someone is going to get sued in a month or two, I feel like. So if go buy this book, because there's a chance you may not be able to buy this book in a month or two.
Sure.
It's just wild, man.
I find it so funny that Rocketeer comics are still coming out. Especially given that it's so formulaic. But you know what? Like you said, it is one of those things where like he's got a cool jetpack, he's got a cool mask. That's going to sell comic books every time.
It's Art Deco, and clearly, like, despite that, and the fact that there's such a basically, flimsy, not a lot of lore to it. Clearly, like Chris Samnee, Darwin Cook, there have been plenty of big artists that have been like, I want to draw that really cool helmet. I want to draw that jetpack. And
absolutely.
That's great. I'll take it. So check it out before it gets scrubbed from the internet and copies are taken off store shelves and sent to the shredder. And
Thank you. Yeah. Well, maybe I'll try another Rocketeer comic. We tried one for the RCB Movie Club, and we all kind of decided, well, you read one, you read them all. But let me talk about what I've been up to. I've been busy with a child, as I've been saying for the last couple weeks. But otherwise, I did sit down and read some comics. I read a bunch of actual comic books that were really good. And maybe we'll talk about this later in the post-credits or something, Nick. I don't know. Spawn 376 and King Spawn 55. For some reason, I'm reading Spawn in 2026. And the answer is... It's Matt Rosenberg. Just started. Started on it. And I'm like, let's see what's going on here. Spoilers, King Spawn 55, one of the coolest books I've read in a long time. Just going to put that out there. Again, it's one of those things where you're like, who's jumping into a series at 55 issues? And the answer is me, because they're doing the thing that we want Big Two comics to do, which is like just start a new story, keep the numbering, yada, yada, yada. But the books that the book that I want to talk about for real today is Everyone Loves a Jewel Thief, number 1 and 2. This is by Tim Seeley and Aaron Campbell. They're co-writing. Aaron Campbell is doing the art. You may recognize Campbell's name from a run on Constantine that he did with Cy Spurrier a little while ago. Maybe one of my favorite runs of a comic in a long time. Cy Spurrier apparently just writes comic books that are for me, and everyone else also gets to read them. Is what it turns out. But this is from Ignition Press, a publisher who I probably would not have checked out had they not literally just got added to Sweet Shop, the new digital comic book marketplace that is in beta-ish. Image Comics is on there, a couple of other publishers, smaller publishers are on there, but Ignition Press just got added to it. And the title basically explains this entire series. Everyone loves a jewel thief. Like, this is a heist comic. What's not to love, honestly? Aaron Campbell is doing his thing where he draws things true to life with people having conversations with the right amount of action and the perfect amount of expressiveness. If you haven't seen Campbell's work before, it is unbelievably perfect in the way that he manages to capture people like mid-frame of doing an expression that you're like, oh, I've seen a person make this face before. I know exactly what they're conveying. If you had taken all the words off this page, I would know what was happening here because of how expressive all his characters are. It's in working with Tim Seeley, who's written like 150,000 comic books, right? We've got this very fast-paced, weird, heisty story filled with longtime pals and bad jokes and characters with quirks out of a Coen Brothers film. Like, this book is just jam-packed with like things that make a comic book good, and also things that make like a very slapsticky, I don't know, kind of over the top comedic movie works at the same time. And I say movie because there is so much like cinematicness to this book. It clearly is like trying to be pitched as almost like a precursor to a movie or something. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing, but there is like a type of storytelling that you get out of some books that feel like they're trying to be more than just a comic book, compared to books that are like comic books first and they want to be comics. But regardless, the book is good. I think it's jamming a lot into the first 2 issues to try to like get you to like and dislike characters and kind of put this mystery at the center of the story. Of at the end of issue 1, we find out someone died, but we don't know who, and we've seen some characters and we haven't seen other characters. We don't really know what happened there because timelines are all out of sync, and I found it to be really compelling. The thing that really will keep me going on this book is Campbell's art. Like, it's so interesting because clearly his work is just pristine. Like, he does this thing, like I said, that creates an expressiveness of all of his characters where you're just like, that's a guy who I could see walking down the street. Like, I know that that's a real person, but it's someone that's drawn into this book. But I think you can tell at the same time that like the work is being tweaked on page in a way that is like almost it's annoyingly obvious in some cases, where like the images have clearly been shrunk or they've been enlarged, so like the pencil lines or the ink lines or digital inking lines are thicker than others, so you can tell like there is, I don't know if it's an artistic choice to do that or if it's just like, hey, I needed this character to be bigger on the page, so I kind of zoomed him in Photoshop. But like it was a little jarring in a couple of panels, especially in the second issue. So I'm kind of like trying to not be nitpicky and say like, oh my gosh, this makes the comic book awful. But it was one of those things that really like took me out of the moment. Otherwise, like this book is fantastic. I think if you're looking to check out something from Ignition Press, this is a great book. I'm glad I got a chance to snag it because my local comic book shop has had trouble getting super small publisher books into their system and getting them to me on time or in any sort of fashion that would make it relevant for me to read it. So if you're not coming from the Big Ten, it's been kind of tough. So I'm glad that this is available digitally somewhere that wasn't Amazon, and that I could buy it and I could read it. So if you want to, like I said, check this out. If you're not on Sweet Shop, I have one invite. Send me an email and I can add you. ircbpodcast@gmail.com. First come, first serve. But it's a great platform. I mean, it works really well on iPad and iOS or iPhone. So I really like it. But yeah,
is this like a Comixology style? Like you buy digital comics on the app?
Yes. It's like they're trying to build, I guess Kenny, good pal of ours, is trying to build this thing up from the ground. He worked on Omnibus previously, which came out a few years ago. And yeah, he's trying to make this thing without venture capital, investment. He's trying to like just build it up. So far it works really, really well. And yeah, Kenny's just building really cool stuff for comic book folks, like ways to promote books, ways to find your comic book shop, and now ways to buy your books. So awesome. Kenny, you got a free plug. That'll be $100. Send me an email. We'll get it sorted out. But anyways, let's move on. Let's talk about comics that are on the top of our pile, comics that are new or old or something you're just trying to get off your shelves. Julio, is there something you're looking forward to reading next?
Yeah. So I'm really excited to read this one, Mary Tyler MooreHawk. Do you guys know about this book?
Yes, Dave Baker is a very good friend of ours. We love Dave.
Cool. Yeah, he's a good dude. I mean the stuff that him and Nicole do, I love all that stuff. Like also on my pile that's literally right next to my desk that I haven't gotten to read yet is Pumpkinheads. Yes. Their new book together. But yeah, I love all the stuff they do, both on their own, together. So I'm really excited to dive into this one because it is like part novel, part comics. Yeah, it's one I'm really looking forward to. This is not a comic, but I just want to show it off because I bought it yesterday. So here in New York, we have a store called, well, it's a chain, but you guys know about Kinokuniya, the Japanese bookstore?
Yes.
Cool. So we have a really big one here, and I just got this. It is a book about. Do you guys know what bromide cards are?
No. I have no idea what that is.
Okay, so bromide cards were originally so they're Japanese. They're huge with like kaiju movies and characters and monsters now. And probably starting in like the 60s, but before that they were made for like Japanese idols, and they were like these maybe like a little bit smaller than postcard size cards that, it would have like the face of like a famous, Japanese singer or actress on it or something like that. But then when the Showa era of kaiju movies started, they started making these cards with like kind of like screenshots of kaiju movies and like Ultraman episodes and stuff. So cool. I haven't even opened it yet. I literally bought it yesterday, but this is kind of like an archive of all the bromide cards that they made for Ultraman from 1966 to 74.
Cool.
And so that book that I didn't tease, but I just said that there's an announcement coming for a book. We are going to be making bromide cards for this book that people will be able to get for free if they buy an issue. If you buy the first issue, there's going to be like a little challenge in it, I'll say. And everybody who completes that challenge will get a free card, essentially. So yeah, really, really exciting. Now, it was a business expense because we're making our own. So,
I love it.
So I'm excited to dive into it. But yeah, so that's another thing I'm looking forward to checking out.
Heck yeah. I mean, Mary Tyler MooreHawk, I said this is like one of my best books, or my favorite books of 2025, I think, when it came out. And I haven't read a comic book like that ever in my life. I don't know if I'll ever read another comic book like that again. Like, it is a wild trip. If once you get through a lot of prose and stuff that Dave put down on the page, man, by the last half of the book, goes places I never would have ever conceived. It's incredible.
Yeah,
not to get you too hyped up on it, but yeah, it's
no,
great.
I've heard a lot of hype for it already. So
yeah, great. Nick, what about you? What's on the top of your pile this week?
For me, it's The Forge number 11, and I say that with a deep sigh, just because I feel like anytime a Greg Rucka book comes up, it's me just going, "Hey, did you know this book is still out there?
Yeah.
Did you know that this book is still out there in the cold, and it needs a home, and that home could be your home? And did you know this book is still alive?" And The Forged is no different.
Sure.
Put it in the bucket with Black Magic and Lazarus and every other Greg Rucka title I love that is not it's not Schrodinger's box, it's Rucka's box. Is it alive? Is it dead? We'll never know. But for those unaware, this is Greg Rucka's sci-fi title. Been going on for 3 or 4 years now, with the absolutely wonderful Mike Henderson on art, who did Nailbiter. He did Dead Man Logan. Mainly has just been on Nailbiter forever, right? Then kind of disappeared to do this book. Colors by Nolan Woodard, letters by Ariana Maher, designed by Eric Troutman. This book, after a hiatus of nearly 2 years, just returned last month. I remembered absolutely none of it, so had to start rereading it, of course. I get it. It's a Greg Rucka book. I know that there are the people out there, I meet them all the time, who, they're like, I'll read it when it's done. I'll read it when it's done. Well, that doesn't work with Greg Rucka books. I mean, if you had I'll read it when it's done as a philosophy with Lazarus, it's been 13 years. I think it might be more.
Yikes.
Since that
we've been reading that book for 13 years, Nick.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And Black Magic is probably close to 10 at this point.
Sure.
But I'm just glad it's back. I'm glad it's alive. I get it. It's a Rucka title. It's pretty expensive. It's a really weird size book if you buy it
physically. It's like magazine size, right?
Yeah. And it's like oversized issues, and they're like $10. So I get it. Some people are kind of like, I don't really know, but I've really enjoyed this title. I do feel like it's pretty different from a lot of the other offerings that we've had from Greg Rucka, where everything in some way or another, Black Magic, despite all of what's going on there, still feels pretty grounded. And Lazarus, as futuristic as it is, or at least was, it feels like we live in Lazarus now. It's Greg Rucka was just 10 years ahead of his time. Again, for me, that is still the number one book for world building out
for
there,
sure,
hands down.
For sure,
it's just bonkers. So it's Greg Rucka. I'm gonna buy anything he does. The guy's a genius. I get that he's had to take a lot of breaks because he's stressed out about current socio-political things, and I get that, and I'm sure he feels that stress more than the rest of us because he's so tapped into all of it. But it's there. Pick it up. Everything he does is gold. So that's it. Full stop.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to sitting down and reading this book when it's done, Nick. I'm one of those people with the Forged.
Okay. Very funny.
Before I get to what's on the top of my pile, I want to shout out some of the folks hanging out on our Discord today. What they're reading. Paul G is going to be reading 5 Gears in Reverse, the new Brubaker and Phillips book, and Danny is going to be reading that Absolute Catwoman #1. I have a copy of that 5 Gears in Reverse. I just need to sit down and read it, and I know it's going to be a banger because, like, how do these guys do it? They're putting out like 5 books a year. What's going on? I don't understand. It's amazing.
They're my favorite team in comics.
Is this looped into Criminal, or is this completely another standalone? Or
yeah. I think they're doing like a couple of Criminal books back to back now, right?
This was their second Criminal, and now they're gonna do they're doing a standalone book next later this year.
listen, whatever it is, I'll take it. That's basically where I'm at,
Same.
right?
What was that series they did a couple years ago? And there were like 3 or 4. Reckless, was that it?
Reckless, yeah.
Reckless.
It was 5
Oh
books.
God, loved.
That was
Oh
fun.
man, that was in as much as I love Criminal. I know this is dangerous things to say, but I think I liked Reckless more.
Sure.
Yeah,
it's really good. I hope they get back to it. I think my favorite thing they've done is between the Fade Out and Kill or Be Killed, which are obviously very different books, but those are
interesting. Fade Out might be my last, but I do think Kill or Be Killed does not. I mean, everything they've done is great, but I think that still does not get enough credit.
Yeah, I love pulp also. I was just looking back at I have a section, my Brubaker Phillips section in my bookshelf.
Yeah, I'm looking over my monitor here, and it's all Brubaker Phillips on like one
back,
shelf
it's
too.
multiplying in real time. Yeah.
Oh
my gosh.
They restock
well, let me talk about a book that's on the top of my pile here. I'm going to be reading Godzilla's Monsterpiece Theater Presents Godzilla's The Odyssey, because if there's something in this world that I love more than anything, it is the absurdity of putting Godzilla anywhere. I've been loving the Godzilla versus America series. All of these issues have been like bonkers and goofy, and I'm glad that people are having fun with them. This one, Frank Thierry, Ilias Kriazis, I'm probably pronouncing that terribly, I'm sorry, are working on this book together. I'm just going to read the synopsis because, quite frankly, it does the entire book justice. Homer's The Odyssey is widely considered to be the greatest epic of all time, so how could you possibly make it more epic? Fill it with kaiju, that's how. Odysseus' journey home was already challenging enough, but what if instead of storms, sirens, and cyclops, the gods sent monsters and even more powerful than the Titans? And what if Zeus sent the most powerful one of all to assist the king on his odyssey? It's like Homer said, of all creatures that breathe and move upon the earth, nothing is bred that is stronger than Godzilla. I mean, I'm in. It's stupid. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, and I'm in for it. So, like, this is the kind of comic I read. This is the kind of, like, story idea I would want to have, like, and as a conversation as a 16-year-old at lunch with my friends after we learned a little bit about the Odyssey and the Greek gods. Like, at lunch we'd just be, what if Godzilla was there instead of like the Titans, you know? I don't know. Frank Thierry's a writer who's worked on a zillion things, including previous Godzilla books. So I'm excited to just see what this book even is. IDW sent us over a preview, and I was paging through it a little bit before we jumped on the show, and it looks bonkers. It opens with, instead of the Trojan horse, it is a Trojan Godzilla. So, like, that's where we're at with this book. So very excited to read this. Looks absurd, and a lot of fun. So
I'm excited for the War of the Worlds one that's coming out soon.
Yes, I don't even know what that's gonna like be, right? That's very fun. I mean, IDW is clearly like just nailing it, I think, with some of these out there Godzilla books this year. So I'm glad that they're just keeping it going. But yeah, let's move on. To wrap up today's show, we're here to talk about a comic book. Julio, you've got this new book coming out in July. We already kind of give us a summation of what it is. So could you tell us a little bit about like where this book comes from? Obviously, you want to talk about what's happening in Puerto Rico, but where does the cryptid side of things come in? Is this based on like a myths of Puerto Rico, or are you trying to like add your own flavor to the chupacabra here?
Yeah, it's a combination. You know, I grew up in Miami in the 90s, and you know, watching a lot of Spanish TV, you know, Univision, Telemundo with my grandparents, and there was one show called Primer Impacto, which is like First Impact, and it was like a tabloid news show. And it seemed like every week they were tracking the chupacabra all throughout Latin America. You know, like they would be in like a farm in Mexico, you know, or El Salvador, or Honduras, or Puerto Rico, and they'd be talking to like a farmer who's showing them all the dead farm animals, you know, his livestock, his goats, his cows, whatever, and saying it was that he saw the chupacabra. And, you know, people who like survived encounters with the chupacabra. Because, you know, it is a fairly young cryptid. You know, It is not named the chupacabra until 1995 is the first like sighting of a creature that they call it that. But in Puerto Rico, and it's in Puerto Rico, but in Puerto Rico, you can trace the legend of this creature to 75, but it was called El Vampiro de Moca, the vampire of Moca, which is Moca is like a small town in Puerto Rico. And it's pretty much the same description, you know, of what we know the chupacabra to be today. But it's also interesting because the chupacabra takes like two main forms. There's like the rabid dog kind of chupacabra, and then there's like the, kind of like little green alien sort of chupacabra. So like there's the humanoid one also. Um, so it comes from growing up hearing about this all the time, but also being someone who loves monster movies. Like I grew up
Okay.
watching Creature from the Black Lagoon, which is my like all-time favorite monster movie, and is very influential on this book. Growing up watching movies like that, and all the other Universal monster movies, Bride of Frankenstein, Wolfman, and then also kaiju movies. So it sort of like takes all these things that I love, but brings it to like a real life context, which is what I enjoy doing with my books. Almost all my books are extremely grounded, with the exception of one element. With Home, it takes place during the 2018 family separation crisis at the border, but with a child that has superpowers. With this book, it is about a very real thing that is happening in Puerto Rico, which is, the sort of wholesale theft of land that should belong to the people, being bribed out of politicians by land developers, and now building, these luxury developments that price out Puerto Ricans, make life more difficult for them on the island. But injecting into that very real story of an activist that is struggling against this, the most iconic Latin American cryptid, which is the chupacabra. So, we do add to the story of the chupacabra. Essentially, we give it some history, and essentially our history is that he's existed for centuries. He's existed since the time of the indigenous Taino, the indigenous people of Puerto Rico. So he has seen every facet of colonization in the existence of the island. So the invasion of the Spaniards, the American invasion during the Spanish-American War, and now this entire period ever since then, where the U.S. has used Puerto Rico as a place to extract resources, whether it's sugar or all sorts of like natural resources, or a place to run war games for the military and drop, experimental bombs that have real effects on people to this day. And then obviously to this new form of colonialism that I described earlier. So this is a cryptid that just wants to sleep. He just wants to rest, and he's constantly over history disturbed in these like large traumatic moments, essentially. And this is just another one of those moments, but this time he interacts with our main human protagonist. Her name is Loli, and he experiences humanity for the first time in 500 years when he meets her. So very much for me inspired by like what The Shape of Water did to the Gillman of Creature from the Black Lagoon is kind of like what we're trying to do with the chupacabra in our story, essentially.
Gotcha. I found it really interesting. Like you mentioned, there's this idea of the dog form of the chupacabra that like is, in my mind, I think I've only ever seen pictures from like Weekly World News. So like,
yeah.
I've only seen like these horrific things. But I feel like you and your co-creator on this book, Daniel, like you guys worked together to like create this very interesting design. How did you come up with like what you think you wanted this thing to look like in the book?
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to create an iconic monster design in, sort of the spirit of the Universal monsters, where this is something that, it's infused with humanity, like humanity came first in developing this creature. So he's a creature that, is capable of experiencing love, fear, and also, monstrosity. And he can be terrifying because we do have a lot of these like very gory, horrifying moments where he does, attack people, get revenge on people. But he is also still a creature that has humanity in it. So that was a big part of the conversations that Daniel and I had. And I think he knocked it out of the park. I mean, I think it's great melding of like what we know of the chupacabra and, this sort of like Universal monster, like classic monster design that I was really looking for.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is like it's that monster side of things that starts to tie you into the Tiny Onion crew. So I'm wondering, how did you go from like working on books on your own? Because I know you've got a couple other books that are either coming out or have come out recently, but now that you're working with Tiny Onion to get this book out, so where does that collaboration come in?
Yeah, I mean, they've been friends. Obviously, James and Eric Harburn, who is the editorial director over there, they've been friends of mine for a few years now. And when I started developing this idea, it felt like a natural place to put the book, and obviously Tiny Onion is, James's company. So, it's a big sort of like platform
it's an empire.
for a story like
it's
this.
It's an empire,
It's an empire, yeah. And you guys only know the tip of the iceberg of it. There's so much.
Sure.
They have like 17 employees. It's
I know. I mean, they're running the bodega thing, right? That's happening in in the new comic, expo that they're doing. I mean, like there's so much going on. And they just finished that Kickstarter, or it's about to finish. Like it's growing every day. It's pretty impressive. But sorry.
Yeah.
To interrupt
No,
you.
it's awesome because what's been great is working with them and Dark Horse and sort of like getting resources from both places. Like so they have Tiny Onion has this or I guess it's like a sister company called UFO, and it is it's like a film production company essentially. So like I went to their offices and shot videos for a day. So like there's going to be one coming out before release date that is kind of like an explainer of like the chupacabra like story, like.
Oh, cool.
So it's like stuff like that. I've never worked, and I've worked with like. Obviously, Image Comics. I've worked with all my graphic novels are published by either HarperCollins or Penguin Random House, which are like two of the largest. Penguin Random House is the largest publisher in the world, right? I've never had the opportunity to do stuff like this that I'm doing with Tiny Onion. So it's really cool. They're really invested in the book. They're really excited for it. It's part of their True Weird line of books that they do at Dark Horse. So like their first cryptid book was about the Jersey Devil. Called Let This One Be a Devil, so that James co-wrote with Steve Fox. So this one is like the next book in that series essentially, but it is nice. It's very different. We it strikes a very different tone. It's definitely this is a book that I developed and I brought to them, which is kind of like all of my projects. Even I did a Blue Beetle graphic novel for DC Comics. Like everything that I do is self-generated. It's like super rare that I work on something that a publisher comes to me and they're like, hey, will you write, so-and-so? I feel really lucky that I've been able to like every single thing I've done has been like me and my co-creators developing this idea. And then we find the best partner for it, and for this book, it was Tiny Onion. And I'm really excited for it to finally hit shelves. We just wrapped up the second issue. From an art perspective, I wrote the whole thing last year, but Daniel just finished issue 2 and it looks amazing. Going back to like the manga and tankobon of it all, like you read the first issue. This is a book that like our colorist Patricio like adds another level to it, but this could have been published just like black and white with the screen tones. Like Daniel has such a great like cartooning style that is manga influenced, but not in the way that I feel like we usually talk about that, where it's like the hyper dynamism, the speed lines, the like, kind of like catching like a kick in midair kind of style that we see.
Sure.
But this is like, he loves screen tones. Like when you saw it, like I said, it could have been published in black and white. And maybe if it's successful, maybe we can do that one day.
I was going to say, I
I'd
have
love
been
for people
known
to see it.
I've seen, some of these other Tiny Onion books and stuff come back out, or not Tiny Onion, so Image books come out in, black and white. Yeah. Maybe you do that black, white, and green edition of this book, in the future.
Yeah, there we go. That's a good idea.
I don't know. That's a TMNT thing. I don't know. Nick, I've been talking a lot. Do you have any questions for Julio? Otherwise, I'll just
no worries. I guess one thing I was thinking about while reading your book and kind of thinking about some of the interviews and things you were talking about, Godzilla movies and monster films and whatnot, and kind of made me think about how when you think about the MonsterVerse films of the past decade, or the recent praise for the Universal Monsters comics, which obviously have been raved about on this show incessantly. I know the Phantom of the Opera one has been plugged. Feels like every week on this show. So here it is again. You know, and Tiny Onion's focus on the weird and bizarre, and obviously your book is a part of that. It sort of feels like cryptids and unexplained phenomena and all this other stuff is coming back around again. For me, it feels like a return to the 90s.
Straight from the government, too, sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, geez. That's what Disclosure Day is all about, right?
It's a tough place for like a kid that grew up in the 90s, like trying to convince his parents that aliens were real, you know? Right. And now like the Trump administration is talking about it, you know?
Right.
And now my parents believe it because Trump said it. So, you know.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah.
It is interesting, right? Because like obviously the 90s X-Files was the truth is out there and you question everything, and you got Independence Day and aliens are real. And I remember growing up through that era, Men in Black, right? Like, and like I remember in the 90s, Roswell was like I was fascinated with Roswell through that time too. I don't know. It sounds like probably the same for you. And I guess like obviously you can speak to this in terms of you and your motivations in your book, but like I guess if you're cynical, you could say everything is cyclical and here we go again. But it does seem like there's an interest and a fascination in these creatures and this questioning of authority. And like, do you feel like your motivations link into that, or, you know, how do you?
Yeah. I mean, I think that I think the best monster movies, the best, you know, anything supernatural is when it is tied to real life struggles that people have, right? You know, I think to, you know, I think about Shape of Water. I think about the original Godzilla, obviously. You know, all of my favorite movies that are in this genre or any sort of supernatural, they deal with these things. And I think you can probably link that to moments where people do feel heightened anxiety. You know, I think the interest in like what else is out there, what else is out of our control, you know? I think, you know, I'm sure, I feel like there's probably you know, a thesis written about this somewhere, you know, that links like high anxiety. And I don't know, because like for me, the 90s was like, you know, the good old days, you know?
Right, of course.
Like, I think like politically, you know, like there wasn't, you know, there wasn't like anything, the horrors were not as bad as they are now, you know?
Bill Clinton was getting on the TV and playing the saxophone and everything was okay, right?
Yeah, you know, like Monica Lewinsky was like the worst of it, you know? There's a pre-9/11 world where, you know, like, yeah, so I don't know, because what I'm saying essentially is contradictory to what I said before is contradictory to what I'm saying now, because obviously there was this like, you know, it was like I'd go to Borders Books. So I grew up in Miami. Borders was like the big bookstore I would go to. And I'd just spend hours in like the paranormal section, you know, and just like reading all these books about UFOs. It would piss my parents off because we were evangelical Christians, you know, so like,
oh, that's a no-no. This is not,
yeah. But I loved all that stuff, you know, like ever since, all right. So this, I've never talked about this, but like, you know, Blink-182 was a huge band for me, like when I was a kid, you know.
All three of us. You're good. You can bring up Blink-182. Mike and I will talk this like, forever. Yeah.
To be honest, like without hyperbole, like Blink-182 changed my life. Like put my life on, I was in 5th grade when I was at a summer camp between 5th and 6th grade. My friend brought a burnt copy of Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. And I listened to that, and it changed everything. I started skateboarding. I started playing drums. I started playing in bands. Like I got, you know, and obviously Blink-182 is not like a political band, you know, like I still think Travis Barker is like one of the best drummers in the world, you know.
For sure.
I brought this up because of the UFO angle, like, you know, watching
aliens exist,
but like
right.
you know, but I think it's also important to say like it introduced me to punk music, which introduced me to political punk, introduced me to hardcore, introduced me to straight edge, like introduced me to skateboarding and like seeing the world different. Like Blink-182 is like, in the Marvel movies where you see like the universes and like things, you know, the little like Blink 182 is the moment where like my life goes in a different direction, you know. And you know, maybe my parents feel better about me now as an adult if I never listened to Blink 182, like so much of like the issues that I've had. Anyway, without going down that road.
They say that marijuana is the gateway, you know, and I think it's actually Blink-182 was the gateway for many of us. Like, that's,
but yeah, like watching like the Urethra Chronicles DVDs, you know, and like hearing Tom talk about UFOs, I was like, oh, this is cool. This is interesting.
Oh my God, I forgot. Angels and Airwaves, and then he starts funding all of those astronaut UFO projects. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he actually like plays a role. I think plays a real role in like all of the current UAP stuff that's happening now. Like I don't think he's playing a role in it now, but I mean like I forget the guy's name, but like he hooked up with this guy that was like a whistleblower and who was part of like that big New York Times article like maybe like 7 years ago or something.
This is what we gave up when Blink-182 got back together, right? Like these are the things that we're no longer.
And for what? Like I don't want to shit on you guys if you like it, but it's I think, you know,
it's
since the Untitled album, there hasn't been a good Blink. Like they should have stayed broken up, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know we've got a hard. We could do this all day.
I know. Now I'm like, oh,
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'll say this last thing. I've never been more disappointed than when I went to their first reunion concert in West Palm Beach. I was still in Miami. I think I was like 18 or 19 years old, and they had been my favorite band since I was in the summer between 5th and 6th grade, and I was genuinely heartbroken when they broke up. You know, when I watched like the MTV like news break, you know, where Kurt Loder breaks in and talks about how they broke up, like because I did grow up watching these DVDs, I'm like, oh, they're like best friends, you know, like
I know,
you know, and now they break up and it's like, what's happening? You know, so I was so hyped, and then it was not good. But anyway,
Yeah, I feel. Listen, I have so many thoughts and feelings about this. I can't believe you've opened this up right at the end of the episode. Julio, have you come back? We are so very excited for this book to come out. Beast of Borikén coming out in July. Make sure you pre-order it at your local comic book shop. Please do it. If you don't, buy it there. Buy it somewhere online. Buy it at Sweet Shop. Buy it at Amazon if you have to. This book is so cool. Thank you for your time today, Julio. This is such a blast. For folks that are interested and maybe want to find you online and want to hear what you're doing in the future beyond this book, where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. It's just my name, @Julio Anta. That's also my website, julioanta.com. I'm on Blue Sky, though I don't really use it. But yeah, follow me on Instagram, TikTok. I've been pressured into making TikToks. And unfortunately, there's been reactions in the comments of people saying, "Oh, this is an awesome book. I'm going to check it out." So now I have to, you know, it worked, unfortunately. So find me on TikTok too.
Gotta put those cool like Tiny Onion produced videos out somewhere, right?
Yeah.
We'll make sure to post all that stuff in the show notes and get links out to everything. But again, thank you for your time today. This has been a blast. Thank you, Nick and Paul, for being here today. Thank you to everybody listening live. Thank you to Zander for editing. And until next time, comics are good, and so are you.